So we will now hand over from Ruth's presentation to Noreen Galvin, who's a veterinary inspector at the Import Controls Division, and she'll take you through some of the operational side of things there.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Tom, just to check that you can see my slides.
Yes, we can see those. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you. So I want to just carry on where Ruth left on about the import controls and the documentation and the pre-notification for importing composites from the 21st of April 2021. So what are the documents required? I suppose I should preface this by saying those of you who are actively involved currently in import controls and uploading documents to our portal, creating sheds on traces, this will be old hat, but there are probably a cohort of importers and agents that this will be new for now with the increased requirements. So for those of you that are familiar with this, apologies, it is more, I suppose, for the newer operators that are joining in. So the documents that you're going to require, as Ruth mentioned, so it'll either be a composite health certificate or a private attestation. And remember, the composites that are exempt from border control post, from import controls will not require pre-notification, or we will not require eyes on this private attestation prior to you importing those. So what I'm talking about today applies to composite goods requiring health certificates and goods requiring private attestations, because the goods are subject to import controls. The composite products are subject to import controls. So we require pre-notification 24 hours in advance, and this is done by the operator responsible for the consignment, and they generate a shed P for the products that are coming in on either the composite health cert or the private attestation. We also require that you upload these details to the DAFM imports portal, and we'll just go through each of these in a more step-by-step basis. And then once we do our documentary checks, again, as Ruth mentioned, you're going to upload these to us in plenty of time, so we have a chance to do the documentary checks before the load arrives in the BCP. And then once we have our documentary checks done, the commodities will be subject to an identity and physical check. So who is responsible for submitting the paperwork? So this is referred to as the operator responsible for the consignment. Now, it can be the importer, or it can be an EU-based agent acting on their behalf. The most important thing to remember is that this person must be registered with the Department of Agriculture and subsequently on the IMSOC, which IMSOC is a new name given to traces now, subsequently on the IMSOC platform, in order to be able to carry out this activity, which is referred to as responsible for the load. If you want to do this and you're not already registered to do this, it is important that you get onto this now, because it's very, very busy. So Brexit registration at agriculture.gov.ie, if you apply to those, to that email address to get your application started. Also, if you are an importer and you're a new importer that isn't up on traces as yet, you could also contact DAFM, the Department of Agriculture, through this through this email address. So once you are nominated as operator responsible for the consignment, what must you do? So you pre-notify us 24 hours in advance by generating a shed P. You will generate one shed P for each health cert and one shed P for each private attestation on Traces NT. Once you've done that, and you have access to the MRN, or the customs reference number for these consignments, you will then submit the documents to the imports portal 24 hours in advance, or as soon as you have them, as soon as you have access to the health cert. Up onto this portal, you're going to submit a copy of the health cert or the private attestation. Again, remember, we're only talking about private attestations for commodities that are the composite products that are subject to import controls. You'll have your customs reference number. You're going to upload a PDF of the shed and any other supporting documents that are required, like packing lists, etc. The person who generates the shed and uploads to the portal is the point of contact for us if we have any queries on these documents. And this is the individual that is billed for the import controls process. And there is a fee for each consignment. So for each shed that is processed through import controls. So documentary checks are initiated on the copies as we described that we receive at the pre-notification timeframe. Again, any queries will go back to the person, the operator responsible for the consignment, who is the person who created the shed. Once we're happy and we've completed our documentary checks based on the copies of the paperwork, the consignment will be further assigned to either an identity check or an identity and a physical check. Remember, the original health certs must travel with the consignment and be presented at the border control post at inspection time. The private attestations, you won't always have the originals at hand, because if they're created by the importer on this side, we will just have a scanned uploaded copy on our DAFN portal, and that will be fine. But if they're created by the exporter in the UK, the original will travel with the load. So how to generate a shed. So once you're registered for the activity as responsible for the load, you're going to log on to Traces and you're going to generate a shed. You're going to pick shed to generate it, and then you're going to pick the commodity code. And the commodity code that you use will be dictated by the commodity code that's on the health cert or on the attestations, or that the supplier or the importer will have given you for the goods that you are importing. And you literally pick whichever one suits, and you click on the shed P. The first fields that you'll have to fill out are the consigner and the consignee, and it's very important that these match what is on either the health cert or the private attestations. Okay, it's important that they're exactly as is on the certificate or the attestation. Enter the border control post of entry. So let's say for us it'll be Dublin Port, but it may be Rosslare Port, or maybe or maybe I think actually, so Dublin or Rosslare would be the most common. The accompanying documents. So for those consignments that have a health certificate, you're going to pick on the health certificate here. And for the ones that have a private attestation, you can put it under health certificate, it's fine, or you can put it under other. And once you open that up, once you click on it, you'll be guided then to just fill in the reference number. So on the health cert, the reference number will be, for this year, it's 212, whatever the health certificate number is. And for the private attestation, it'll be whatever the reference number that the company has given it. So just to put it in and put it in correctly, so we can always ensure that we're looking at the right, the correct official certificate or private attestation that is reflected on the shed. So when you add it in, you'll see it here, health certificate, the number, the date that it was signed or created, it can be, but usually the date that it was signed would be on the health certificate, the country of origin, the UK. If it's your attestation, if it's your private attestation, you can also put in the UK if you want, UK or Ireland, it will be fine. That's fine. And then I know that we've had some problems with uploading the actual health certs with the long schedules, because they don't always fit on Traces. So you are just uploading to the portal. And again, you can continue to do that. You can just upload to the portal with the private attestations. But as Ruth mentioned, there will be the availability soon to do your private attestation on Traces NT, in which case it will be attached automatically. It will be part of the shed, and we can cross that bridge when it becomes available on what the best way to do that is. Prior notification is the time that you expect the load to arrive in the BCP, not the time that you're creating the shed. It's the time that you expect the load to arrive in the BCP. Means of transport, the vessel and the road vehicle, pretty much akin to what Ruth mentioned when you're filling out the vessel and the road vehicle on the private attestation. Again, road vehicle. Now, when it comes to container and seal number, because it's unlikely that there will be an official seal on the private attestation, you probably won't be using this unless you have some way around having an official seal, but at the minute that is not likely. So you will not be using this for the private attestations, but you will be using it for your composite health certs if there is an official seal on the stated on the health cert. Country of dispatch is the United Kingdom. It's for human consumption. They conform for the internal market. So these are all boxes that have red asterisks that you go through, that you fill out. And then when it comes to the end, box 131, description of the commodity. So the commodity that you have chosen when you were generating your shed will show up here. Now you may have more than one commodity on it, and each commodity has slightly different compulsory fields. So establishment of origin and product type are what's compulsory here. And again, using what Ruth describes as, you do not need, the establishment does not need to be EU approved if it's already if it's incorporating already processed products of animal origin, but it would need approval if it is further processing products of animal origin. So just some tips just to try and avoid us coming back to you on simple issues. Make sure the consignor and the consignees match. The reference number either from the health cert or the attestation, just double check that this is the correct one. The place of destination on the shed is the final site of unloading and isn't the BCP. Some people click on the BCP incorrectly. So the place of destination is not always filled in on the health certs. So you will need your commercial invoice to know where it's going, but it is filled in. It appears on the private attestation, so you'll know the place of destination from the attestation. Again, the pre-notification time, we explained that. Trailer and number and seal number, if available, enter it on the shed, probably more apt to the shed that you're creating for a health certificate. And again, the establishment approval number. So some establishments in GB are approved for several different activities, and if you are choosing one, and this applies to not just composite products, if you're choosing an establishment that is listed for several different activities, make sure you choose the activity that is relevant to the product that you're bringing in. Okay, the imports portal. We discussed you need your shed, your MRN number, your customs reference number, your health certificate. And this is what the imports portal looks like. And if you just Google DAFM imports portal, it'll bring you here. Okay, you simply click on this and it'll bring you to your first page where it requires your phone number and an email address. Country of dispatch, United Kingdom to Dublin Port, and this can only be used, the system can only be used for imports from GB. It's not applicable to other third countries at the minute. So here you select the date and time of your estimated arrival into Ireland, which should reflect your prior notification time that you filled in on the shed. Click the commodity so for this, it's an animal product. Your MRN and your shed number. So type in your shed number here. Again, just be correct on your data entry here. Your means of transport, your means of transport, roll on, roll off. So unless your product is coming in on a container, like a proper sealed container that is an unaccompanied load, that is a low, and there's very few of those come in from GB. There's just a company or two that use them. Most of you will be a roll on, roll off, and you'll either be accompanied or an unaccompanied trailer. Then the next screen is the documents that you need to upload. So the Common Health Entry document is a mandatory document. The health certificate is a mandatory document that you must upload. And when you're going to submit a private attestation to us, because you won't have a health certificate, you're going to upload it under the health certificate tab because it's mandatory. So you can upload it under the health certificate tab, the private attestation. And anything else that you have, like a packing list, etc., that would be useful to us, you can certainly upload it. Anything like a product description, if we're raising queries, or you can always upload it under the other tab. So that's the last screen in your imports portal, and after that, then you get an automated email response with your reference number for the imports portal, and a link with which you can click on to submit any further information that we may require, or that you may have forgotten, or you think, oh, I think I might have uploaded the wrong attestation or the wrong health cert. So you will get a link that you can reactivate or re-enter some information. So just tips for the portal: you must have your MRN, ensure your correct health cert and or attestation is uploaded with the correct shed. Upload a copy of any attached schedule, so especially for the composite health cert, with schedules attached, make sure they're included, and any other supplementary information that you might need, that we might need, like a packing list. So as we discussed, you need your health certificate or your private attestation. The operator responsible for the consignment is going to pre-notify us 24 hours in advance by generating a shed. They are then going to access the imports portal and upload the documents as we described, just to be careful to make sure accurate and careful data entry. And the operator responsible for the consignment is the person that we contact, and it can be it can be on social hours, obviously, so it's easier if they're available for follow-up. Ensure the original health certificate travels with the load, and for the private attestation, it may not be with the load for the reason we described, and that they are sometimes they may be created by the importer, in which case we will just have had a copy of it, and that is fine. So I think that's it from me. Yeah, that's it from me. So we can take questions at the end, as Tom said. So thank you, Tom.